joining an Oakland Community Health Network webinar. For this presentation, please follow the etiquette stated in the webinar code of conduct. We ask you to please keep your microphones muted, and if you are on a computer, your microphone icon should have a slash through it. If it doesn't, your microphone is on. For those of you who have called in by phone, you can mute and unmute by pressing the *6 button. On the chat message box is shown hidden by is shown or hidden by clicking the comment balloon to the right of the hand icon. Please use the chat message box to interact and to ask questions during the presentation. Live closed captioning in English only is available through the fully downloaded computer version of Microsoft Teams and on the three-dot More Options pop-up menu. Clicking on the three-dot More Options icon in the middle of the icon menu bar will bring up and down the More Options pop-up menu as shown on the slide. Clicking the red phone icon will disconnect you from the webinar, and you will then need to sign in again to return to the webinar. If you put your hand up by clicking on the hand icon, remember to put your hand down by clicking again on that hand icon. You will want to hide the icon menu bar, say because it's in the way of captions on a slide. Just click anywhere on your screen, then don't move your mouse or touch your trackpad. To unhide it, just move your mouse or click on your mouse again. This presentation is being recorded, and by participating in it, you are consenting to the recording of your participation in the webinar. We are now going to begin the webinar. Thanks for attending. We will take questions and comments at the end of the presentation from the chat message box and then from participants by phone. Charlotte will now welcome you to our presentation.
Thanks, Mark. I'm Charlotte Richardson, and welcome to the voting webinar, Candidates and Views Understanding Political Positions. I first want to answer who is bringing you this webinar. OCHN is the WHO. Oakland Community Health Network provides services for 28,000 adults and children with intellectual and developmental disabilities, mental health concerns, and substance use disorders. Its mission is to inspire hope, empower people, and strengthen communities. Secondly, I want to answer who this webinar is for. This presentation is for anyone and everybody who have or does not have a disability and is interested in voting. The who is you. Now I'll go over the why. Every U.S. citizen has a right to vote at the age of 18. Why? You can influence change and make a positive difference. Your vote matters. It can make a difference in the lives of your friends and family and neighbors. You have a role as an advocate for yourself to make your voice heard. Your vote matters and your vote counts. Our previous webinar, Voting 101, Your Vote Matters, covered some basic information about voting. Additionally, we hosted the webinar, Voting Advocacy and Voting Absentee and Disability. Both webinars are recorded and can be accessed on the OCHN website. These are some topics we covered in the Voting 101 webinar. We will briefly go over some of these in this presentation as well. Why your vote matters, important voting dates, deadlines for registration, how to register to vote, and absentee voting. Other topics covered in Voting 101 webinar were the voting process, assistance with voting featuring voter assisted terminals, rights and voters in Michigan, online voting resources. These webinars were recorded and can be accessed on the OCHN website at www.oaklandchn.org. Then go to the News/Event tab, then click on the voting webinars and click on the voting webinar as a YouTube link. Your vote, your voice, your vote. Your voice, your vote is not only meant to be a thumbs up. Here it means much more. Your voice, your vote makes a difference to your neighbors and your community and society as a whole. The general election is on Tuesday, November the 3rd. Remember, you will be casting your vote for the next President of the United States during this election. Just another reminder, we will be voting for our choice president in the November election. Now, Mark will go over some important voting registration deadlines.
Thank you, Charlotte. There are some important deadlines for you if you are planning to vote and you are not registered at the address where you reside, particularly if you plan to register to vote in a way other than in person with your local city or township clerk. If you want to register by mail, online, or at the Secretary of State office, or with the Oakland County Clerk, you will need to register by October 19th for the general election on November 3rd. However, with proof of residency like your state ID or driver's license, you can always register in person at your local city or township clerk until 8 p.m. of the actual day of the election. It is advisable to check if you are registered to vote. If you have any question of whether you are or not, you can do so at the website resources we will go over at the end of the presentation. These are the requirements to register to vote in Michigan. You need to be a Michigan resident at the time you register. You need to be a resident of the city or township for at least 30 days by time you vote. You must be a U.S. citizen and at least 18 years of age at the time you vote. Additionally, you must not be currently serving a sentence in jail or prison. However, a person awaiting arraignment and not yet convicted of a crime can vote by absentee ballot. Felons in Michigan can also vote once they have served their sentence. Only Kentucky and Iowa do not restore the voting rights of felons. If you meet all the requirements to register to vote, you can then register in a variety of ways. You can automatically register to vote when you renew your driver's license or change your address at the Secretary of State's office. You can also register online at the website resources listed at the end of this presentation. You can register at the Oakland County County Clerk in Pontiac, and you can always register to vote at your local city or township clerk's office. You can find out the contact information on your local city or township clerk on the websites listed at the end of this presentation. A question you may have is, what do you do if you are moving at the time of an election? You can vote at your previous polling place one last time, or by planning ahead, you can put in an application to vote using an absentee ballot. I will be reviewing absentee voting on the next slide. Absentee voting. All eligible and registered voters in Michigan may request an absentee voter ballot. There is an application, which is the request for the absentee ballot, and then there's the actual ballot itself. The request to have an absentee voter ballot mailed to you must be received by your clerk no later than 5 p.m. the Friday before the election. The Friday before November 3rd is October 30th. However, with the way things are going with the mail, you would want to request your ballot even earlier. You can request and apply for an absentee voter ballot at the same time. You can do this in person. After you receive your absentee voter ballot, you have up till 8 p.m. on election day to complete your ballot and return it to the clerk's office. Many clerk's offices will have drop boxes that you can return your absentee voter ballot in. If you have any questions about the status of your voter's registration or your absentee ballot or application, I encourage you to check your voters' information on the Michigan Voters Information Center at www.michigan.gov/vote. This can also be done on a smartphone using a browser like Apple Safari or Google Chrome. Now Charlotte will go over the voting process.
Charlotte, your mic might be muted.
When you vote, you must mark your ballot. You can get assistance with this from either a person or by assistive technology. Second, you must place your complete ballot in a security envelope. Absentee voters must use an absentee voter secret envelope, which is mailed to you with the ballot. Absentee voters will mail the ballot in or take it to their county clerk's office. Third, return the ballot to a designated person. Insert the ballot into the counting machine. Absentee voters must return the ballot to the clerk's office in person or by mail. And finally, congratulate yourself and be proud you have just voted and made your voice heard. Voting assistance is available. There are people to help you vote if you request it. Every polling place has workers from both major parties who can assist you, or you can choose your own person. There are also ballot marking systems that enable you to vote independently. Often you can do it by yourself with assistive technology like the Hart Verti Touch Writer or an ES&S voter assistant terminals. We are going to hear a little bit about assistant terminals. What is voter assistant terminals? A voter assistant terminals are used for privacy and accessibility for voters who have a disability. Oakland County's polling places use Hart Verti Touch machines. Macomb County uses ES&S Express Vote machines, and Wayne County uses Domination voting machines. Please tell an election worker if you need to use a voter assistant terminal. You do not have to call ahead to make sure your polling place has them. Every polling place should have a voter assistant terminal. The next video demonstration on how the Hart Touch Writer works.
We don't have a video. It's going to the next slide. This is a slide to continue.
Okay, if you do require assistance at the polls, you may request help in advance by notifying the clerk's office. You can locate your clerk's office on one of the voting websites that we will discuss later in the training. Hearing impaired residents can direct questions they might have to the Department of State Bureau of Elections. The email address for the department is elections@michigan.gov. Please do not hesitate to vote. Your voice and your vote matters. Voting is an important part of advocacy. As referenced in the voting advocacy webinar, it is not just letters and calling legislators. It's making your voice heard. bringing about change and to make things better. Everyone voice counts, everyone votes matters. One vote makes a difference. Remember, votes add up. Now we're going to hear from Mark.
Thank you, Charlotte. I'm going to go over some Oakland County candidates. Listed are the candidates for Oakland County after the primary election on August 4th. For Oakland County Executive, there's David Coulter, who's a Democrat, and he's the incumbent. And then there's Mike Kowal, who's the Republican contender. For Oakland County Prosecuting Attorney, there's Karen McDonald, the Democrat, and she's facing off against Lynn Getz, the Republican, who's the incumbent. For Oakland County Sheriff, Vincent Gregory, Democrat, who was a state senator in Oakland County, is facing off against the incumbent sheriff Michael Beauchard, Republican. Oakland County Clerk, Register of Deeds, Lisa Brown, a Democrat, is the incumbent, and she is going against Tina Barden, Republican. And then for Oakland County Water Resource Commissioner, Jim Nash, Democrat, is the incumbent, and Jim Stevens is challenging him. You can locate the precinct and district you are in and who's the corresponding candidates are by looking up your voter information on www.michigan.gov/vote, either by entering your name, birth month and year, and zip code, or by entering your driver's license and birth month and birth year. You can also see a ballot preview with your voter information on it. You can see who the candidates are that way. It will tell you if you're registered. It will tell you the status of your absentee ballot application and about the ballot itself, whether it was sent out or received. You can research candidates at the League of Women's Voter website at www.lwmi.org. And for local candidates, you can go to the oaklandcountytimes.com, which is http://oaklandcounty115.com. They have video interviews of the candidates from Oakland County and various articles about the upcoming election. Now for political parties, there's party descriptions. We have many political parties in America. Two have enough in common to form a coalition. In America, these coalitions are the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. The Democratic Party includes left-leaning groups, except for the left libertarians, green, and socialist factions, who often form their own parties. The Republican Party tends to include right-wing groups, except for the right libertarians, constitutionalists, and the far-right alt, who often form their own parties. This varies from state to state. On the left-wing side, the modern American liberalism, it's signified by blue. It used to be red prior to the year 2000. The social justice is ideology of collective liberty, social equity, and necessary government. Tend to favor inclusive big groups and use big government to ensure social liberty and equity. Dominated by social liberty values of justice and traditional conservative values on government. Embraces classical liberalism in terms of individual liberties and almost always stands against social conservatism, often is associated with the Democratic Party. Here's a table kind of showing the spectrum of the two left wing and right wing, where left wing is liberal, right wing is conservative in terms of values. The party is Democrat and Republican as far as left and right. The philosophy that government should be publicly driven or privately driven under the Republicans. The jurisdiction of government is in control. Well, for the Republicans, they see business as the main driving factor. For wealth distribution, the Democrats tend to favor wealth distribution, while the Republicans favor wealth protection. Democrats tend to want to raise tax on the wealthy, where the Republicans want to cut taxes on. As far as economic policy, the Democrats favor stimulus, and the right wing favor austerity. Generally, the Democrats are known for being blue and the Republicans for red. This happened in 2000 when the New York Times decided to change the color. The Democrats did not like the idea of red because some people associate that with communism. This is a campaign video for Donald Trump on this next slide. And this is from the right wing side, the Republicans.
This is a movement like we've never seen in the history of our country.
Wisconsin is Trump country.
And that's what this fight is all about. We're taking on the failed political establishment and restoring government of, by, and for the people. It's the people. You're the people. You won the election.
We love this country. We love Donald Trump.
Promises made, promises kept.
We support President Trump.
This is epic.
Donald Trump is our president.
With every last ounce of heart and hope and sweat and soul, we are going to make our stand. We are going to stand for liberty. We are going to stand for justice. We are going to stand for freedom. And we are going to stand for the sacred rights given to us by the hand of Almighty God. You joined our movement, the greatest movement in the history of our country. You protected your family. You defended your dignity. You recaptured your destiny. And you took back your country with that great election 2.5 years ago. We are one united movement, one united people, and one United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
You have always been loyal to this nation. Now you finally have a president who is loyal to you. Every day between now and November 2020, we are going to keep on working, we are going to keep on fighting, and we are going to keep on winning, winning, winning. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you.
This next video is from Democratic candidate Joe Biden.
For all of those who've been knocked down, counted out, left behind, this is your campaign.
I don't think people are looking for revolution. I think they're looking for results.
Donald Trump has put us in a horrible situation. We do have enormous income inequality. And the one thing I agree on is we can make massive cuts in the $1.6 trillion in tax loopholes out there. And I would be going about eliminating Donald Trump's tax cuts for the wealthy. Donald Trump thinks Wall Street built America. Ordinary middle-class Americans build America. As president, I promise you, I will get these weapons of war off the street again. There's no threat to the Second Amendment by telling people there are certain weapons they cannot own. If we think big enough, bold enough to build a future that this nation and, quite frankly, the world deserves, making sure affordable health care is accessible to every single American, lowering drug prices, ending surprise billings, protecting our rural hospitals that are closing. We should do it by building on Obamacare, not scrapping it. As President of the United States, I would remind the world that we are the United States of America and we do not coddle dictators. The United States of America gives hate no safe harbor. Donald Trump's brand of American First has too often led to America alone. The fates of nations are more intertwined than they ever have been. Climate change, nuclear proliferation, international and transnational terrorism, cyber warfare, disruptive new technologies, mass migration. None of them can be resolved by the United States alone or any nation acting alone. I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come. I would change the order that the president just changed, saying women who were being beaten and abused could no longer claim that as a reason for asylum. 12 years of education is no longer sufficient. We need widespread access to affordable education, college, community college. They should be free, in my view. It's more than a comeback, in my view, our campaign. It's a comeback for the soul of this nation. The reason why we've been able to lead the world is not the example of our power, although we're the most powerful nation in the world. It's the power of our example.
Okay. Mike Pence is the Republican vice president candidate. Before he was vice president under Trump, he was the 50th governor of the state of Indiana. Kamala Harris is the Democratic vice presidential candidate. She is currently a Democratic senator in the state of California. Next slide. The presidential debates are coming up. There is also a vice presidential debate. The first presidential debate is about a week from next Tuesday on September 29th. They start at 9 p.m. and go till 10:30 p.m. Then the vice presidential debate is about a week later on Wednesday, October 7th. The second presidential debate is about a week after that on Thursday, October 15th. And then the last presidential debate is about a week after that on October 22nd, which is also a Thursday. These are some helpful voting resources for you. The State of Michigan website, which I've mentioned before, is www.michigan.gov/vote. You can find your local clerk and polling location, as well as watch videos about voting equipment, how to register, much more. You can check your registration status. You can check the status of your absentee voting ballot. Then the Oakland County Clerk, www.oakgov.com/clerkrod. That's CLERKROD. You can register to vote. You can find your polling place. You can find your precinct. It's located at 1200 North Telegraph Road, Building 12 East in Pontiac, Michigan. Their phone number is 1-888-350-0900. And then there's the League of Women Voters, which I mentioned previously. It's www.lwvmi.org. You can educate yourself about important voting issues and learn more about voting. For the Democratic candidate, Joe Biden, you can go to www.joebiden.com. And for the Republican candidate, Donald Trump, you can go to www.donaldjtrump.com. These resources can help answer individualized questions like, am I actually registered to vote at my current address? Who is my city township clerk and what is their phone number? Where is their office? Where is my polling location? It can tell you how to register online. What do you need to register to vote? How to request absentee voter ballot application. You can learn more about these issues and candidates from the League of Women Voters on the Michigan website. Links to these resources are on the OCHN website, which I will go over on the next slide. You go to the Oakland Community Health Network website, which is www.oaklandchn.org. And on the home page, you can go over to the Advocacy tab, which is over towards the right of the page, and select 2020 elections. You can then click on the link for important handouts, like the link to the page for the OCHN voting webinars and important dates to remember, reasons to vote, the voting process. This handout has the voting resources from the previous slide on the bottom of the page. The rights of voters with disabilities, candidate interviews by the oaklandtimes.com or https://oaklandcounty115.com, the League of Women Voters Michigan chapter, and the Respectabilities Voter Guideline. To view the previous webinars, you can go to the News and Events tab towards the middle of the page and select Voting Webinars. Then click on the YouTube video link of your favorite Oakland County voting virtual webinar. Or you can do it on a phone. You go to www.oakland.chn.org using a browser on your smartphone and use Safari or Chrome and Google and search for the words OCHN voting webinars. Next slide. From the OCH voting virtual webinars, you can then click on YouTube video links, or the slides are also available for Voting 101 webinar, Voting is Advocacy, Absentee and Accessibility Voting, Candidate Positions and Views, which is this webinar. And we can go on to the next slide. These virtual webinars were on the third Wednesday of the month from 11 till 12 p.m. This is the last one for candidate views and positions, understanding political positions. This now concludes the presentation portion of Your Vote Matters Candidate Positions and Views, Understanding Political Positions webinar. We will now be taking questions and comments from participants. First, we will take question or comments from chat message box, and then we will take verbal questions from participants, whether they have their hand raised or whether they unmute their phone, and we can see that, and we will call on you by your phone number. For those of you who have joined us by phone, you can press *6 to unmute. And after you're done with your question, please press *6 again to mute your telephone. Are there any questions from the message or chat box?
I am not seeing any, Mark, but excellent
Okay.
job, both of you.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the audience on the phone? Okay. Well, I want to thank you for attending the Your Vote Matters Candidate Views and Understanding Political Positions. If you do think of any questions, you can call the Oakland County Community Mental Health Customer Service Department at 800-341-2003. That's 800-341-2003 between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and you can ask for Mark. Do what you need to do. Get out and vote. Your vote matters.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to end the recording and the meeting now.